I'm Wyatt Cash at Scoop News Group, and we're here with Christine Halvorsen, Senior Technical Business Development Manager, Mission Acceleration Team at AWS. Christine, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Wyatt, for having me today. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, let me start by asking, what does IT modernization in government look like and mean in 2021 in your estimation?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. And it's because we obviously coming out of a pandemic year, right? And going into 2021, we're hoping into the post-pandemic world. IT modernization means readying for that post-pandemic world. And really the changes that we've seen in our public sector customers, especially in their response to COVID-19, is really fueling permanent changes in the way that they're delivering mission and serving their communities. And really at the beginning of the pandemic, what we saw was many of our customers were tackling the most urgent problems. And, even their employees not able to come to work. So how did they get their employees online? How did they even check in on their employees to make sure that there was health and wellness checks being done? And while also serving the communities that they serve every single day. And so over the course of this past year, what we've seen is they've shifted more from the urgent problems to thinking strategically and longer term about what they may need for the future. And these longer term opportunities is allowing them to rethink their processes and the ones that don't work. It's allowing them to invent new solutions to solve challenges that they have faced for years. Because they've seen in this pandemic world, they've been able to take on challenges in a rapid and secure environment, especially using AWS cloud, to solve those challenges very quickly. And so now they have this confidence in themselves that they can continue on this iteration and the successful outcomes that they're having right now. And so these productivity gains that we've seen through the pandemic, whether it's modernizing their systems, that is quickly scaling to meet their critical needs, or standing up telemedicine centers, will become permanent fixtures in their organizations moving forward. And so we're excited about the opportunities to continue to support our customers in 2021 in this post-pandemic world.
Well, you've been working with agencies for some time now. I'm curious, how did the pandemic affect the need to modernize more rapidly over these past many months?
Yeah, when we talk about that, I just want to take a step back to the beginning of the pandemic. We all thought maybe this is a short-term pandemic. Maybe this was not going to go on as long. I don't think any of us expected it to go on for over a year, that we were actually having a year anniversary for it. So when it first started, AWS was there to support our customers. And what we quickly realized through our customer obsession is we recognized that our customers were forced to face really three main challenges in the pandemic world. And that affected their modernization and how they could move rapidly. And the first was designing new solutions to tackle COVID-19. The second was adopting new technologies to solve the challenge of even social distancing. And third was migrating to the cloud to build solutions that were simply impossible to build with legacy IT systems, especially at the scale required by the customers to meet their employees' and citizens' demands. And so during the pandemic, again, what we saw was more innovation in a matter of months than we had seen in 2 years prior to it. And prior to the pandemic, what we were seeing was the number one reason why our public sector organizations were moving to cloud was agility and speed. And this benefited the organizations that were already moving to cloud because it enabled those organizations to pivot more quickly. And AWS Cloud helped to push that collaboration and communications at scale that they were required to meet during this urgent time. And so what COVID-19 showed us was that people were expecting the same technologies at home that they normally had at home, and that world-class technology from government and other public sector organizations. They wanted that same from those organizations that they would get from being at home and watching Netflix, right? Or shopping online. And so that pandemic laid bare that sometimes the only interface those organizations had with their customers and their employees was that technology interface. And so for these organizations, failure was not an option. And so the pandemic, the citizens also needed the support of these organizations, right? We kept waiting for information to come out for the government and local governments and national governments, and looking to them for that information to know what was going on. And AWS helped support these agencies to deliver those successful outcomes to their employees and to the citizens. And what was really key for us in this was the IT legacy systems couldn't keep up. Organizations were having a hard time scaling those IT legacy systems. And obviously with the cloud, you're able to scale up and scale down on demand. And the supply chain also didn't help. I don't know if you remember, during the middle of the pandemic, everybody was ordering laptops and equipment and, so that they could work from home. And that actually held up the supply chain to even doing legacy systems and upgrading them to be able to scale on demand. So even cloud became even more of a benefit to those organizations as they adopted and modernized their IT infrastructure to the cloud to support during this COVID time.
Well, looking ahead just a bit, what major priorities stand out for modernization now in government?
Yeah, as we went through COVID and as we're still going through it, really rising to the challenge was leveraging cloud to, power the telework and distance learning, accelerating medical research, even distributing unemployment benefits and helping understand really how the disease was transmitting to different areas. And so the government agencies are now taking that and building upon that, but each one is in its different stage of modernization journeys. And so some are moving to the cloud, while others are further along in their journeys and taking advantages of our analytics and AI ML services. And all of this is done in support of their missions. But among many of the government agencies, a lot of their biggest challenges aren't technical. They're really about the people and the culture. And coming from government to AWS about 2 years ago, I retired from government after 23 years. I went through exactly this and trying to modernize a data center and moving to the cloud. So very familiar with it. And the great part for me was, senior leadership was aligned. And that is a key priority that we need through these organizations. Agency leadership has to know what the art of the possible is, that what they can do with cloud infrastructure. They need to set that clear direction and expectations with their organizations to get everybody on the same page and working towards the same goals. And it's really easy to tip your toe in the water or block progress if leadership team isn't making the move a priority for them and building on a culture of transformation. But as we've seen with COVID-19, when leadership is aligned and instead of just dipping their toe in, they're jumping full in, right? Mission challenges, they can be solved very quickly in a secure manner, and that innovation can happen rapidly. And the most successful organizations through all this that we've seen moving to the cloud started with that aggressive top-down goal that forced those organizations to move faster than it would have organically, resulting in their ability to achieve those mission outcomes at mission pace. And so when you're enabling this transformation, one of the key factors you have to include is the training and workforce development. It has to be one of your key priorities. And it is really important that organizations are trained on the cloud, comfortable with the concepts as part of the whole process. And here at AWS, we train hundreds of thousands of people a year just for that purpose.
Well, lastly, Christine, after agencies more fully modernize, what comes next?
Yeah, so modernization, obviously moving target, right? Continue to modernize, continue to innovate. And so they have to be continually updating their technologies, their capabilities, and processes. They really have to make sure that their workforces are trained on those latest technologies, all resulting in accelerating mission outcomes through that increased innovation. AWS, for over 10 years has been eliminating that undifferentiated heavy lifting of that underlying IT infrastructure at a lower cost for all of their customers. And government agencies can now focus those elevated resources on delivering accelerated mission outcomes. And that helps them serve their employees and their citizens, and it provides them with the great infrastructure and services that are driving innovation in the public sector. And as you know, AWS is committed, to the US government to help them modernize the way it conducts business, and by providing the most innovative and efficient and effective solutions to support those IT professionals, so that those IT professionals have a seat at the table when it comes to supporting and achieving those successful mission outcomes for their organizations.
Well, Christine Halvorsen, thank you so much for joining us and sharing some of your insights on the trajectory of IT modernization in government.
Thank you so much, Wyatt, for your time. Have a great day.